to be honest. Sorry about that, but thank you very much for coming. And there's some new medians that came as well. I don't know if you're going to heckle or what. But, thank you all very much indeed. But, you know, we all know really you're never going to be happy until you know about content marketing. And content marketing is actually nothing new. So you could leave now if you wanted, but it's not, there is nothing new about content marketing. It's actually nothing that you don't already know about. It made its first sort of squeak on Google Trends in April of 2010, the term content marketing. But in 2005, it was actually branded content. Before that, in the early 90s, it was contract or custom publishing. You know, everybody knew it as custom publishing. And a lot of people actually looked down on content publishing or custom publishing because a lot of people thought it wasn't real. It wasn't real publishing because people weren't buying it. That's interesting. And some of it, you know, didn't think it was very good, and a lot of it wasn't actually very good. So, but anyway, all of those terms have pretty much fallen away now, and we call it content marketing. So today I'm going to tell you a story about content marketing. And I'm going to tell it cleverly in 3 parts, called the past, the present, and the future. Well, what's changed, as I said, is everything and nothing. In fact, there's so much content out there, and people are going, content is king, you know, content everywhere, everybody's at it, everybody is producing content. Content isn't king. Elvis is king. It's very important. But there is actually far too much content. So it doesn't matter what you produce. Unless the content is really, really good, forget it. Don't bother. It's like putting lipstick on a pig. It doesn't work. So what we do is we publish content. It's content that is something that is good enough to put out there to publish. When content is great, that's what we do. And that's what you do. You are content experts. And I think that's really, really important. So really, what is it about? It's about speaking to audiences through a company's own stories. Many people say that this whole thing started way back in 1895, when John Deere, Lambo, you probably know about tractors, John Deere's a tractor company, and in 1895 they launched a magazine for farmers. It's still going today. This is what it looked like. This is in the 50s. Obviously, you wouldn't get away with that cover now, with like men leering over little boys and things like that. But so this is it in the 50s. It still exists today. It has a circulation of over 1.5 million copies. It's translated into about 10 different languages around the world. It's phenomenal. But rather than tractors, I'd rather talk about toilets, tires, trainers, and TV. It was the year 1900. There were 3,000 cars on the road in France. Only 3,000. And Michelin, you know, Michelin produced tyres. So what did they need to do? It's no pretty good having tyres when there's only 3,000 cars on the road, and all they're doing really is going round the Eiffel Tower. Hey, you know, got a car, hurrah. So you know, people weren't wearing down their tyres. So what they did was they needed to give drivers a reason to drive the cars further away. So they created this, the Michelin Guide. The Michelin Guide was actually about places to go outside of Paris, and why would you go there, etc., etc. But what made this content useful, really useful, is that it was a guide to where the toilets were outside of Paris, because in the 1900s there weren't many toilets if you went further afield from Paris. So, now this is, you know it, it's a paid-for guide. The guide itself, the Michelin Guide, doesn't make any money. But in the countries where they produce the Michelin Guide, people are 3% more likely to buy Michelin tyres, to choose Michelin tyres over any other form of tyre. 3%. And 3% in a market that's worth 20 billion euros a year is a huge amount of extra revenue that's driven by content that started with toilets. And would Nike be the same company without content marketing? In the mid-1960s, the founder of Nike, Bill Bowerman, published a 19-page booklet on jogging. And that basically brought the sport of jogging to America. Bastard. And, are you allowed to swear at least 24? I don't know. But this booklet, what's interesting about this booklet is it never once mentioned Nike. It didn't need to. Coca-Cola have recently launched their Content 2020 strategy. If you haven't had a look at this on the internet, please do. It's phenomenal. Okay, so their whole strategy is about, by the year 2020, they're going to move from creative excellence to what they call content excellence. And every single contact with every single customer that they have is going to tell an emotional story. And what they want is for those conversations to be what they call liquid, so that obviously you pass them on. That's their aim, liquid content. But is that really new? It's got a huge amount of hype, but is it really new? I'd like you to kind of consider, it was in the 1980s in the UK, and there was a campaign that was done by a company called Nescafe Gold Blend coffee. And this, I think, was truly liquid content way back in the 1980s. What they did was they ran a series of 12 television ads. 12. Okay, over a 5-year period. It started in 1987 and the ads finished in 1993. The basic premise of this story is there's a woman and she's in the middle of a dinner party that she's having and she runs out of coffee. So what does she do? She goes next door to her very handsome neighbour and asks if she could borrow some coffee. The story carried on, so just recently they got all of the people that appeared in the series of ads together for a photo shoot. What I love about this is it's shot in that style of Vanity Fair. They're actually sitting on bags of coffee beans. So that's this ad of them all this picture of them all getting back together was also in the national press. So it went on. But more importantly than any of that, Nescafe saw a 50% increase in their sales through storytelling. Okay, and coffee, coffee's coffee to a certain extent. Well, it was then, not anymore, obviously. So then it was the year 1998, and a little storytelling company was born, and that company was New Media. And New Media was born because we spotted that there was a gap in the market, because advertising and marketing executives were spending a lot of time thinking about the brand, and editors were spending their time thinking about the audience, and in between was this thing that New Media does. So New Media, 14 years ago or so, combined the two. And not because it was trendy, because it is quite trendy now. Obviously we're not, but it is. So that's what we did. So what is it now that we're looking at in the present? Well, the present, I think, is going to look like this for all of us, or we're in it. We're in this constant kind of permanent state of reinventing ourselves. Well, that's where we are, and the reason that we're there is, I think, because of our clients, media owners, really everybody is becoming a media owner. So whether you're a fashion brand like Net-a-Porter, whether you're fizzy drink like Red Bull, you are now a media owner. And the reason that you're a media owner is because you can talk now directly to your customers. Because the way that things have changed, you can get direct access to your customer. You don't necessarily need to own a great big printing company to sit in the middle between you and your customers. That's all that's changed, actually. So everybody's talking about being a media owner. Okay. I just really like that. I thought that kind of summed the whole thing up. Is every company is a media owner. So lots of companies are at it. Some companies do it very badly. This is, when people pretend it's content, and it's really just rubbish, but they dress it up like content trying to fool people. I mean, that's just stupid, because we know customers don't think like that. So the Stutterford's Times, which was done in obviously it was done like the Financial Times in the same colour paper. And what it does though, it goes, oh, the history of Stutterfords, that's quite interesting. Actually, in about the third line they're on to, and we sell trousers and we sell, you know, it's like, that's not content, that's boring. Here's an example from Woolworths, which initially you think, well, that looks nice, that looks good stuff, putting a spring in your step. But if you go into this, the content reads like this: cooler bag. Pack a picnic in a cooler bag. It will stay cool for longer. You know, again, so a lot of people, a lot of companies are trying to do it, but they don't understand what you guys understand about your audiences and how to really create some amazing stuff. So that's really what it is that New Media is doing. We're creating that content, linking the brand to their customer. Examples of how we do that. I'm not going to go into it in detail because I think you probably know about it, but with Taste Magazine, some people could say Taste Magazine is just an advertorial. A very big advertorial, but it's an advertorial, isn't it? Because it's paid for content from a client. But this is actually paid for on the newsstand. So customers of Woolworths go out and spend their money on what they know is a product, advertising Woolworths product. That's genius. Mm-hmm. So we also know from our research that they're spending 4 hours on Taste and they tend to keep it. We also know that over 75% of them go out into Woolworths and then buy ingredients that they've seen in Taste. You know, I mean, that's splendid. So what I'm saying about this is, what we do is we understand that, you know, yes, Taste is paid for, but the majority of our content isn't paid for. And when content isn't paid for, you have to really think quite differently about it, because you're earning that attention from the customer. Another example is W, which is a fashion magazine. This publication we do. No, good, bad. Oh, it's it's Michelle, do you? I mean, if Michelle goes, I don't know. Anyway, so this is 700,000 copies of this publication go out. We segment it into 4 different areas depending on how you shop, because they know who the customer is. So they know that you buy that kind of merchandise and you buy that kind of merchandise. The content is separate for that. This single issue of this made them 24 million rand per issue in incremental sales. So it's 100 million rand a year that's additional spend, because actually I've now seen those trousers that appear in the issue of W. And there's a smaller, and then we've just literally, this has just happened last week, we've now taken that into an app. So it's all digital now as well, and it's got videos and various things. They really want to go there because they're saying, you know, we need it to be digital. What we're saying is, yes, but actually, you can go there because you're Woolworths and you want to be seen to be there. People actually want to get the magazine in their house. They've told us that. They want to sit there and they want to go through and they want to talk and think about what they want to buy. So we have to push back quite a lot on that. I'm now going to play you, there's 2 videos. They're quite quick. They're 3 minutes each. So if it feels too long, just say no to the second one. But have any of you seen the, I think it's just a great example. Have anybody seen the Chipotle?
No.
Anybody know? No. Okay. So it's a fast food company in America. It's basically kind of corn dogs and stuff like that, but healthy ones. So it's all about ethical treatment of animals into a great big kind of fast food chain. So what they did was they created an app. And they wanted to create some form of content that would promote the app, not actually get people in store. First, they wanted them to get engaged with the app because it was quite fun, and you know, gamification's cool, and everyone wants to go there. So this is what they wanted to do. So they wanted to get something that actually made people think about, why is their fast food chain better? It looks at the food industry differently. So over about 3 days, literally 10 million views on YouTube. And because it went so fast, then obviously the national press were covering it, saying, wow, this is amazing, you know, it's kind of, look what's going on, and oh, it's a real focus on how we eat and fast food. I mean, everybody was talking about it. And then there was a second thing that happened, where people said, what a load of old crap, frankly. It's just pulling on our emotional heartstrings. We don't believe it. It's just marketing by any other name. So then they came out and there was a spoof ad. Engage our brand. This is our game. So this spoof got about 100,000 views. 10 million, 100,000. Only thing that matters is that people were talking about the brand, around the story of the brand. Their third quarter profits were up by 15%. So, I'm going to go through this very quickly. This was just, we also believe in terms of when you talk about any form of content, we at New Media, there's New Media in the room, so if I lie, so we at New Media try and live that thing of content even when we do our own internal communications. These are New Media's brand values, C to the power of 3 RLE. I won't tell you what they are. If anyone wants to guess, though, you can have a copy of our Start Wearing Purple book. So it's just really about internal communications. These are some of the things that we do around how we communicate our own brand, which just looks different, it sounds different, because we need people to engage with our content. Recently we did a Bride Day pack for everybody with content that said, you know, this is how you make one of those smoothie things. Small thing. And what happened was brilliant because New Medians were tweeting about it. What it does then is kind of, ooh, that's a nice place. That's why you got chocolates. So, but what we do is try and put the customer at the centre of everything. Everything in media, everywhere, everything about retail is about putting your customer at the centre. That's the only thing you need to remember, is because media owners are becoming more like retailers, retailers are becoming more like media owners because they're putting their customer at the centre. So who does it very well? Condé Nast do it very well. Condé Nast don't think you read Vogue, you read GQ, you read Condé Nast Traveller. What they're starting to do is segment their audiences into audiences that look like this. Because they have lots of different products that may appeal to groups of people. They then sell them in different ways. Both to advertisers, they sell them to market researchers, they do all kinds of different things because they understand their customers completely differently. And you know about the Vogue cafes, you know, you've seen them. What's interesting, more interesting about this is where they place those Vogue cafes, because they're very much aimed at these people who want to be seen associated with the brand. But most of them are not in the US, they're in Eastern Europe, because their overt kind of association with Condé Nast brand or Vogue as brand is more important. They have also, which I think is an amazing thing, and I really, really do believe Media 24 should do this like straight away. I think you probably know, they have, on the 1st of January, they opened the Condé Nast School of Fashion and Design. Okay, how brilliant is that? And there is a rumour that says the CEO of Condé Nast was so fed up with lots and lots of interns coming and saying, please can we work at Vogue? Please can we work at Vogue? And obviously, you know, it's like, so he went, okay, I'll set up a fashion school, then you can pay to learn using people from Vogue to teach people about fashion. And then he says, well, there's no guarantee you'll get a job at Vogue, but obviously the best will be considered. Huh, brilliant. Oh, just by the way, the 1 year course costs £20,000. £20,000. So that's, you know, also a nice income for them. Other people that are doing it interesting and well, I think. Talking about shopping. I'm not sure how much you know about the Foschini model, but the Foschini model is incredible. Because what they do is they have around 8 different publications. So you join the Foschini Club, which you pay for. You then get a main magazine. Because they know your shopping habits, then they'll say, we see you've bought kids' wear. Would you also like to have a kids' magazine? Oh, you've got some menswear in there. We've got a men's magazine. They've got 8 different magazines. Just this area of their business alone is bigger than 4 of their retail categories. So they make more money from their club than they do from selling menswear, for example. That's the power of giving people content once you understand what they're doing. Okay, so brands themselves can't be heroes. So what a lot of brands do is they try and piggyback on other brands. This company, Joie de Vivre, is a thoroughly average hotel chain in the US. Okay, there's nothing much going on about them. What they have done, though, is they've marketed themselves on the basis of whenever they launch a new hotel, it will be based on a magazine. Okay, on 5 characteristics of a magazine. So, for example, they launched the Rex Hotel, and they based it on the New Yorker. And the New Yorker, they said, was clever, literate, artistic, worldly, and sophisticated. And they did a huge promotional campaign. I mean, it looks like this. There's nothing special, but it got spoken about everywhere. The Avanti in California is based itself on Wired magazine, creative, techie, visionary, smart, and iconoclastic. 5 key adjectives. It is the hotel of choice for Google because it's associated with Wired. So again, I'm saying other people are taking your brand characteristics and using them, wanting to kind of get into that. It's all about thinking about things differently. Have I got time? Okay. So there is a. This is again, it's very quick. It's the last video, I think. This man started a company because of an insight he had into a marketplace. And that's really all we're talking about, is insights into marketplace, insight into customers. What he identified was that men don't have a relationship with the company that they buy razors from. Apparently it doesn't matter. If you buy Gillette or you buy Schick or whatever, they don't really care, as long as it does the... So what he did was say, well, maybe there's a gap for me in this market. So he's the founder. He produced this ad for, I think it was $10,000. It ran on YouTube, and the market went ballistic. Obviously, he's nowhere near as big as those big players, but he has entered the market, and he's now about number 5 or 6. Okay? Think of that in terms of the amount of money. Is it an ad? Is it content? It tells a story, but it's a story around an insight. The insight that FMB had was that they realized that they weren't really a bank. What they needed to be was a technology company, because people needed to get money to places where there weren't banks. Okay? What did they do? They invented the e-wallet. Now they are they just last year won the most innovative bank in the world. They didn't think like a bank. Okay? Crayola make crayons, and they've been making crayons for hundreds of years. And, we talk about, oh, God, what's going to happen? Is print dead or not dead? It doesn't matter, because, guess what? The whole crayon market has gone completely pear-shaped. And it's gone pear-shaped because kids don't use crayons anymore. Kids use iPads. So their audience over the last 5 years has gone from children age 10 to children age 3. Okay, so they've had to completely reinvent themselves. What they now do is they talk about, not about crayons, they talk about creative play. And it's about creative play that appeals to adults and all kinds of people, so much so that they've taken their brand into you can dress up for hen parties. Or because it's Halloween, you can actually dress your kids up in Halloween gear. The only point of that is that they have changed the focus of what they're doing to look at it's about colour. It's not about crayons. They actually have a crayon, it's worth reading about actually. They do have a crayon Hall of Fame. And the certain colours then get retired to the Hall of Fame. You can go to the museum and look at them and stuff like that. So Zumba, you can't read this, but Zumba changed the way. They won Company of the Year last year in America because they reinvented fitness. They didn't call themselves a fitness company. What they did actually, and again, read the case study, they looked at almost like Tupperware parties for fitness. That's what they did. So they made the people... The instructor became the hero. Instructors then went out and became massive kind of entrepreneurs in their own right. But read more about it. So, what does the future look like? So we're nearing the end. The future, what does it look like? Well, it looks like this, really. We will be in a permanent state of reinvention, I think. But for my 2 cents, what do I think? I think that what we need to do is we need to move from thinking of ourselves as a media owner that sells our content to both advertisers and to our readers. That's what we're doing, creating content, selling it on. Do you want it, or do you want the readers that get our content, just the advertiser? We've got to change that up, and I think we've got to go to this. dramatic pause, it didn't work, to an audience owner selling products using content. And that, I think, is the future of where we need to go. The fact that you produce content better than anyone else in the country, as good as anywhere else in the world, that's what should be celebrated. It doesn't matter where it plays out. So we should be kicking arse of these people that are going into our area and saying, oh, look, we're doing content, because we can do it better, but we need to own the audience. And we need then to have insights that help us create products once we know what our audience wants. So I don't know the answer to this question, but what are your audience insights that can create your own brand stories? So that once you have that, you can create products that your customers need, and then you market them through great content. So then the final section is I've called it Beer, Yoga and Learning. Beer, yoga and learning are three of the biggest growth areas in the world right now. Craft beer is growing like supersonically. Everyone's into yoga. Now, there is a disclaimer. So what I've done is I've just taken these as areas of fastest growing kind of categories in the world. And I've come up with some ideas of imagine if. Okay, so craft beer. So the best craft beer. The point about this is it's not a brand extension. It's about creating the product yourself. It's about Media24 investing in creating products themselves, because you can only sell a copy of Weg at a festival once, really. How many Weg beers could you sell at a festival because they love Weg, because they associate with your brand? And obviously we did, because just to be correct, this is the one if you're driving. So this is the Achter die Stier beer, which is 0% thing. And then you've got the Passagier beer, that obviously want to get completely hammered on their way into the car. So yoga is massive. So think about this. You know, women's health yoga studios. Why not? Why can't we open yoga studios? It doesn't cost much. It's not rocket science. You get in people that know how to do a bit of flip-flacks. You know, it's like, but picture this. Picture this. Who am I going to trust? I'm going to trust Women's Health because they tell me about yoga. I already trust them. I've already got X many people buying it. But I'm going to take up a membership of a club. That's hundreds of rand, not 30 rand. Okay? When I'm in the Women's Health Yoga Club and telling my mates about it on the mat, what am I going to buy? As I walk out the door is the latest issue of Women's Health. Of course I am. So, you know, let's think differently about things. Fin Week, for example, everybody is desperate for information on how to set up small entrepreneurial businesses. I think that Fin Week could just online create Fin Week Small Business School. You know, create venture capitalists kind of, so people come with their ideas, we fund them, you know, obviously taking a share in it, hurrah. City Press is often called the home of intellectual thought as a newspaper. But why does it have to be a newspaper? Because you've got stuff sitting there, you've got content sitting there, you've got people sitting there who could actually create the City Press online university. It's not difficult to do, you just need to get a couple of experts in that can actually expand how we think. The final bit is, so I understand, thanks for coming. So I understand there are already brand extensions. And this is an example, I think, of a great brand extension. There's out there people that love sari, getting married, love more information, etc. But imagine we look at this slightly differently. So rather than putting the content in the middle, what if we put the audience in the middle? So what if we put the bride-to-be in the middle? What does she need? She needs stuff. Okay? She needs information on, I need a gift card and a ring, and I need a photographer, and I need cakes, and that's what she needs. What she needs is a wedding planner and a wedding organizer. She needs this stuff to hear so she can, you know, so it can help her. So, well, why not then create the sari braid becomes your wedding planning service. So the picture changes to look like this. It's a total bridal service, you know, and of course we can do photography because we've got photographers. You know, we've got access to the biggest list of great freelance photographers. They might seem to have a sari stamp. And the food, let's give you some ideas for how your wedding catering could look. But the brilliant thing, I think, about what you've got is you've already got a contract title that could advertise your own service to tell everybody there's a brilliant bridal service. So customer magazines can be changed. Consumer magazines can be changed. It's just how we think about the audience. So my question to you is, what are your audience insights that can help you create your brand stories? And that's the end. Thank you very much for coming.
When you first started Taste, what made you decide to make people pay for it?
You know, when we first started Taste, we'd been working with, trying to persuade Woolworths to do a magazine, so it took a long time, first of all. They said to us, the brief was, when we finally got it, they said to us, we don't want a Woolworths magazine. What we want is we want Taste to be the best food magazine in the world. And at that stage, so that's kind of just celebrated 10 years, so at that stage it was, well, then we need people to have the perception of buying it on the newsstand. But interestingly, even though it's sold on the newsstand, it's about, I don't know, 30,000 copies or something, Woolworths still pay a lot of money from their marketing money into that title. So it doesn't make a profit for them at all, even though it's sold. And yes, we can say, brilliant, you know, kind of, can we have it here on the newsstand because it's your own magazine? It still doesn't make money for them. But that's not the point, because it's about the ingredients that are sold. And that's, you know, again, is the example of why do we think like this? Why are we forced to think like this? That we'll have to make our money from advertising or from selling copies. We don't. We really don't. Anyway, on that cheery note, thanks very much.